Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I know what you're thinking, and the answer is yes. I'm 100% the arbiter of what is and is not funny, but only for myself, right? And that's how it is for all of us, right? Only you can determine what is and is not funny for you, right? Nobody can tell me what's funny, right? To me, right? You can tell me what's funny to you, only I can tell what's funny to me. And I'm a person, I have a pretty good sense of humor, I would say. I can find humor in a lot of different things. And I think uniquely, I'm the type of guy in my worst day that I might find a moment of humor. A brief moment if it's a really bad day, but I might find a moment. And what I mean by that is just finding anything to laugh about or say something funny about. Even though I'm having a bad day, just for a split second, you know, I might choose to throw some humor out and then go back to moping, right? I think typically that's not what you see from people when they're in a bad mood. It's just like, get away from me. But that's the kind of person I am. So with that being said, this is my nonpartisan review of the Dave Chappelle comedy special on Netflix that just came out. Dreamers. So before I get into giving the review and what my thoughts are on it, I've watched the entire special now. I'm not gonna have any spoilers, but I want to give context for people that don't know me, on how I feel about some things that were discussed. Not how I feel about the things in the special, but how I feel about the subject matter separate from the special, right? So, the N-word. I'm a little bit of a weirdo, shall we say, an alien from another planet. So I don't really follow the rules, you know, or kind of go with a lot of the stuff you see other people. Like, I kind of do my own thing. So I will break with a lot of norms because I don't feel the need to fit in anymore at my age. And I've been that way for quite a while. So that being said, the N-word, don't really care. Someone calls me the N-word, I do not really care. In general, I don't care about words, sticks and stones, you know. I personally do not use the N-word. That's not me. And it's nothing special. Like, I'm consistent with it, right? There's nothing special. I don't have a special connection to that word, any version of it. However, just as a principle or just who I am, I don't use racial slurs, right? I don't use racial slurs. I don't use slang version of racial slurs, right? So like the N-word, for example, grr, the racial slur, but somehow, you know, I'll say this one at least, nigga is somehow supposed to be acceptable. Not to me. You want to use it? Whatever. I don't care what. You use whatever words you want to use. I don't care. That's your problem, right? You want to use ER, or you want to use, you know, nigga, whatever. Personally, I'm not a guy to use racial slurs. I don't find a purpose for that in my vernacular. So I don't use it. I don't use the ER or any. I mean, because thing is, you say the racial slur with slang, but I mean, it's still like the word you're using is a derivative of, and I don't want derivative. I don't want the thing. I don't want the derivative. Right? It's like, I'm walking around saying, cracker. You know, look at all these crackers. You know what I mean? I didn't say cracker, and I don't want to get into like, how the difference is between these two. It's a racial slur. I don't care which one has more of a profound whatever. Do not care. I do not want to use racial slurs. I don't need to use them. Whatever. But if you want to use them, go nuts. I don't care. So, got to put that out there to give the context of my review. Additionally, I do recognize that the trans community in particular has been basically, they have been used and abused. Their lives have been put in danger by, opportunists online who, these online savages, typical online savages in American media. That's how we get down. It's all about the clicks, right? So even though your content could be, doing harm and you see evidence of it, you really don't care who dies or whose life gets affected. It's all just content and clicks, right? So because of those savages, a lot of people are being targeted. There are a lot of people who are, you have a situation where a lot of certain groups are already suicidal, and then it just makes it worse when you have these opportunists online, these Beanie Man, aka Tim Pool, and Steven Crowder, who behaves as a trans woman, trans woman wannabe, but somehow he's against it, whatever. So I do recognize the harm. I do recognize the need to be sensitive to this particular vulnerable community. All right. So it is from that context that I review the Dave Chappelle special, Dreamers. I watched it specifically because Tim Pool, the clown, propagandist, right-wing propagandist, right-wing content, not necessarily his ideology, right? There's a difference. I watched it because he posted a short video talking about it, and he was like, "Yeah, it's funny, whatever." And I heard people talking about he did trans jokes, and they were like getting all bent out of shape about it. So I figured, I figured he disappointingly was pandering to the right wing and did some like trans joke stuff, and just that's what I assume. That's my expectation. Cheap jokes, disappointing jokes. Not necessarily not his best work probably. So low expectations. I turn it on and he gets right into it. First joke. And I'm laughing. I'm watching it on the train or wherever, and I'm laughing. And I like the setup. No spoilers. I like the setup. He's a master at his craft, clearly, and he sets up this whole scenario and this and that and this and that and this and that and this and that and this and that. And I say all this to say, bam, and it's like, nicely done, nicely played, Dave Chappelle. So it was a trans joke. He starts off with a trans joke, and I actually laughed. I thought it was pretty funny and well done. It was creative the way he put it out. Now, I can appreciate the humor in that joke. I think obviously humor is subjective, so that's part of it. But the other part is I am not a tribalist. I'm an independent thinker. I don't subscribe to any clan. I reject all the different groups. So that frees me to appreciate something, take it in, and have my own thoughts about it. And because of that, I'm able to see the humor in it. Now, if I were a typical tribalist and I'm of the left wing tribe, I would not have found it funny at all. Right? I would go in there with a negative attitude as I did. And then the minute he says something about trans, I'd be like, this son of a bitch, he's hurting trans lives and blah, blah, blah. But I didn't. Right? I just went into it disconnected from any ideology or tribe, just like, all right, taking it in. Do I find it funny? Do I not find it funny? Found it funny. Then he starts with a bunch of N-word jokes. N-word this, N-word that. And the joke that he made to me was very cheap. That was kind of what I was expecting. But not with the N-word, with the trans stuff. I was expecting it to be very cheap. So he made a very good, in my opinion, a very good trans joke. Then he made a very cheap N-word joke, which, like I said, the N-word doesn't move me. So it wasn't about the N-word. And that's another thing that I think uniquely allows me to soak it in and have a perspective that, you know, is not colored by my ideological lenses, right? I'm just taking in the joke, and I can, you know, how do I feel? Is it funny or is it not funny? You know, without, again, if you're a tribalist, you use your tribalist lenses, right? And the minute that he says certain off-topic, you know, certain, you know, what's the word? Off-limits words, like, oh, a trans joke, so you're not even hearing whether it's like funny or not. The minute he says the N-word, oh, it's all black people, something, something, right? But that's not how I see it. I'm just taking it in as it is, and then I can see whether I find it funny or not. There's nothing blocking my reception of the humor. What I'm getting at is there's someone who might actually find a joke funny, but they're not allowed to. They don't allow themselves to recognize the humor in it, because the minute that he touches on off-limit topics, they just shut down. So they're not even really hearing. It's just kind of like, trans joke. I didn't do that. And with that clear state of mind, I was able to come to the conclusion, good trans joke, cheap N-word joke. And then, you know, he went on a couple different topics. He did the handicap. So he did some handicap jokes. I thought that was clever. The way he did kind of a slick trick. You know, like people tell him, you can't blah blah blah, and he's like, oh yeah, watch this. So he flips it, and I can recognize that some people might find it offensive. You know, they probably find the whole show offensive. But I mean, this is what he does. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. So if you feel it's like you shouldn't make fun of handicapped people, I mean, you know, that's your prerogative. I didn't have an issue with it. Of course, I'm biased as a person that's not handicapped. I get it. But I thought it was funny enough. Did part of me feel a little bit uncomfortable that I found it funny? Sure, I'm human, and I'm not a savage. But overall, I thought it was funny. Did some other stuff about his wife, and I don't know if this is considered a spoiler, me even saying that he did some stuff about his wife. But just, you know, he did some stuff about current events, I'll just say, related to comedy in the last year. I don't know if I would say it was a big trans joke. Yeah, I don't think I don't think it was a lot of trans jokes. There was definitely more than one. And it was a reoccurring theme. You know, It was a small part of the show, but it was something that came back. There was an underlying, you know, something joke about something else. Trans guy. Okay, whoa, he just slipped trans into something. So at some point, some of the trans stuff was cheap, similar to the N-word stuff was cheap, not creative. I wasn't impressed. I felt he's better than that. There was a piece at the ending that was inspiring, and I'll just say, look at the title of the special, right? So just imagine what inspiring piece he could have done relevant to the title of the show, right? Something about dreams, right? So I appreciated that in a comedy show he was actually able to put something out there that was a little bit more serious, but it's humorous. So he's telling a story slash joke, but I could see it inspiring people and, like, you know, dream big, blah blah blah, right? So that was kind of cool. And then he drops another, you know what. So overall, I think it was a decent show. It was a decent show. It was light on, again, humor is subjective. It was light on really good, moments of humor, right? I would say there was 5% or less of the show that, got a good laugh out of me. I don't think I was like laugh out loud about anything, but there was 5% or less that was like, that's pretty funny. And then you had majority of it being just humorous, entertaining enough. And then you had maybe 10% of those cheap jokes, N-word or trans something. So I don't know if I'm gonna rate it in 5 stars. I don't know, man. He's all over the place, right? It wasn't a consistent quality for me. My instinct jumps to 3 stars off the bat. 3 stars, 3.5 stars, if I'm being charitable. So not his best work. Again, you had those highlights, but it was just not enough. He didn't deliver enough on that level. Now to go a little bit deeper. This is all just my, was it funny, was it not funny? Now, I don't know what the term is, social responsibility, I don't know. Regardless of whether his trans joke in the beginning was funny, imagine if all his trans jokes were funny. They weren't, to me. But imagine if they were all funny. They're really good jokes. Separate the quality of the joke from the appropriateness of the joke. Let's talk about appropriateness. I would say my instinct gravitates towards leave the trans people alone. You're a really good comedian. There's a lot of stuff you can make jokes about. I know that some dishonest right-wing media folks will say, oh, nothing should be off limits for jokes and comedians should be able to whatever, blah blah blah, whatever. This is the way I look at it. Regardless of whatever, like, let's say I agree with that. Doesn't matter whether I agree or disagree, but let's just say I agree with that. Oh, you should be able to make jokes about any people in every group, whatever. That does not, in my view, supersede the need for caution because you have a particular group that's vulnerable, that has been under attack, a vicious attack, for some time now because of these online opportunists. Um, I think in that climate, it's a little irresponsible to be risking adding to, you know, what they're going through, right? I know if I were a trans man, I wouldn't appreciate trans jokes from anybody. I could see my sort of easygoing, good spirit, whatever. I could be that trans guy that actually laughs at a good trans joke and is like, it's just a joke. I could see that. But generally speaking, in the current climate, it's not about, you know, you're allowed to make fun of this group, but not that group because that group is special and this one's not. No. Again, context. In the context of what's been happening, that they have been so targeted recently, right? That's the group that was picked to be targeted and attacked and harassed, right? So I think the responsible thing is to be sensitive to that, right? If you remove that context, then I'm like, oh, okay, it's a joke. How are you going to make fun of this group and not that group? Right? That's the way I look at it. But if a particular group is under attack and it's violence involved, might wanna find something else to make jokes about. I mean, just to give another context, let's say that conservatives were the ones under a similar attack. So left-wing media is just going after conservatives all the time, calling them perverts or something, I don't know, whatever. And you get all these like bomb people making bomb threats to conservative schools or conservative businesses or shows, right? And there's like, multiple mass shootings at conservative events. So like, you have these like Charlie Kirk events. Like imagine if that was a thing, right? That multiple shows Charlie Kirk does, and someone goes in and shoots it up, right? So and then you have a bunch of conservatives that are committing suicide because they feel so targeted. So you have suicides that are up. You have mass shootings where people are targeting conservatives. This group is under threat, right? Imagine, Chris Rock in that climate going on stage and saying something, I put out a posting for a babysitter, and a conservative responded. I immediately checked the sex offender list because we all know, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be down with that, man. You can make fun of conservatives all you want, but not when there's shootings targeting them, not when they are being suicidal, right? When a group is under such attack and blood is being shed, I think that's a time to be a little bit more careful with your words, right? So based on that thought process, I would say, even though I did like the first joke that he made, the first trans joke, I would say bad on Dave Chappelle, a guy who was very talented and he didn't need to do trans jokes. He could have come up with other stuff, right? So I think that was a bad move on his part. Right? That's my nonpartisan, not just going with the tribe. I'm looking at it as logically as possible. And just like how I wouldn't appreciate, conservative jokes, when they're dying, um, I have to push back on that. Even if I find it funny, I got to push back on that, especially for somebody who's so talented. Did not need to. Of all the things to make fun of, he could have chosen so much other things, right? And I know dishonest actors will try to, again, make that stupid argument of, you can make fun of this group but not that group, without considering the context of the current climate, right? Like, don't be stupid, man. You know what's going on right now. You know what's going on with the trans community, right? You watch the news, right? Leave those goddamn people alone. Dave Chappelle and everybody else. Leave them alone, right? Let them do what they want to do, right? You find them weird, so what? You're weird. Everybody's weird, right? I'm weird, right? You're a human being. That means you're weird, right? Human beings are weird. We're weird. So you think trans people are weird? Let them be weird, right? You think their pronouns, it's like, oh, this is ridiculous. Who the hell? I'm in a blue city. I've never had to use anybody's pronoun. I mean, you know what I mean, right? No one's ever said to me, you gotta refer to me as they. I only see that online. I don't see that watching right-wing media. Nobody's doing that, right? Once in a while, I see some reference. Somebody put pronouns in their signature. Like, who the hell cares? Right? Who gives a fuck? Leave those goddamn trans people alone. Let them do what they want to do. Right? They think you're weird. Right? They think you're weird. Find some other group to make fun of. Find a group, any group that's not currently under attack to the point of people dying. Right? Those are my comments. 3 stars. Cheap jokes with the N-word and the trans stuff. Far too few moments of real good humor. And separately from the quality of the content, I can respect people who say, Dave Chappelle, do better. I can respect people who take offense to, and it's not just, again, the context. It's not just this. I don't look at this just as people just being offended for everything. I think there's a valid reason to be offended by what he did. Again, in the context of what's been happening to the trans community. Even though I do recognize that there are going to be people who are offended, but not because of the logic of that I just stated, but because they're that type, right? I get it. I get that there's going to be people who are going to be offended just because they get offended about everything. And it's like, it's the thing, oh, you're not supposed to be, this is off limits. And I get that. I get that. But just because maybe they're offended for the wrong reasons doesn't mean that this isn't something that it's valid to be offended by. It doesn't mean that it's not a valid concern or issue to have, right? Just because some of the people who will make a fuss about it are clowns, right? Obviously, some clowns are gonna be like, "Oh, Dave Chappelle," but the fact that they're clowns doesn't mean that they're wrong, right? Hey, Andrew, what's up? We're all weird. I think it's perfectly. There goes Kitty Cat. Kitty Cat's hungry. I gotta feed my community cat that I call Garfield. I'm thinking about adopting, by the way. I'm on the fence, dog or cat. I'm still kind of squatting, so it's a tricky decision. I'm not really settled. Cats are easy for this kind of setup. Dogs, not so much. But for now, I'm feeding the community cats. I'm the cat guy. Trying to make friends. That hasn't been going very well. They're very scaredy cats. I think it's perfectly normal for a woman to have a voice deeper than mine. Sometimes you see them and they get huge feet. I'm sorry, man. I said it before. I'll say it again. I still, again, put aside everything I said about he should have left those people alone, whatever, whatever. It was funny though, man. I love the story. He tells the story. I'm not gonna no spoilers, but he tells the story, and you're into the story. Yeah, okay, yeah. And then he's just like, he just flips it. I'm like, whoa, nicely done, man. If you're gonna make inappropriate trans joke, that's the way you do it. The other ones, not so much, right? Not so much. And none of his N-word jokes are on that level, right? So that's the thing. I could appreciate a good N-word joke. I don't use that language, and I kind of look down on people who do in terms of like, come on, man. But if he said a really good N-word joke, I'll be like, you're wrong, but that's funny. It wasn't funny. It wasn't funny, man. It was just like, you just threw N-word in there just to be controversial. I was like, yeah. Not because it's an N-word, because it's a bad joke. That's what it is. But, speaking of bad joke, I'm gonna end the live stream on this one. And I think this is his mastery. This is an example of his mastery, I think, potentially. I'm not spoiling anything. This man makes you laugh at a bad joke. Not this one, not the other one. He legit tells a bad joke and makes you laugh. That is mastery. And he warns you. He's like, this sucks. That's the mastery. Like he wasn't self-deprecating. He's like, this sucks. This is horrible. And then he tells it, right? But the way that he sets it up, that's the thing. It's all about the delivery. He sets it up to like, this is no good. Da, 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 da. I don't know if it's reverse psychology that he did that made it work, but he's like, this is bad, this is bad. And then he does it. And I think legitimately, it wasn't that funny. Somewhere in the middle, he does this. It wasn't that funny somehow. But yet I laughed, and the audience was laughing because somehow the way that I don't know if he lowered expectations or something. And then I think partly the way it was such a bad joke and it was so ridiculous that he struggled. And I think that made it funny too. And he had us laughing at a bad joke. And then he recycles it. I'm not gonna say how, but again, he's an artiste, right? And he knows how. This is a good joke technique that I've seen some of the good comedians do, where I tell a joke about a Ford van. Ford is a vehicle that blah blah blah, and I had a Ford this and then the Ford this, and what do you know? It's found on road dead. Ha ha ha. And then you go to another joke, and then another joke, and another joke. And then you're talking about something that seems completely unrelated. Everybody forgot about the Ford joke. And you say it, and people are like, that's funny, that's funny. And then you're like, I guess I should have gotten a Ford. Like, you just throw it in there. And somehow it's a double, I don't know, it's a double value where, in the moment it's funny, but I think there's also an extra added entertainment value of like connecting it to earlier when you said the Ford thing, right? So we remember the Ford joke, and when you say it, it's kind of like it's almost like he's creating an inside joke within a show, right? Because if you didn't hear the joke earlier, it wouldn't have been as funny. But part of the humor comes from the recognition when he throws in, and the way that it kind of like surprises you. It's kind of like he just. He puts his hand up and he's da 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 da, and guess what? Oh, this drink thing, and you're like, oh shoot, the drink thing again. So yeah, he tells a bad joke. He's honest that it's a bad joke, but he really sets it up, and then he makes you laugh the way he does it, and then he recycles it. And this is why it's bad that he, spends so much time on not that he spent a lot of time, but all this like trans stuff and the N-word stuff. It's disappointing because he has so much talent. Right? He can do so much better. I don't know what the thought process is. I mean, it's art, so I guess I don't know, man. I don't know the guy. Is he being lazy and he's like, pandering to a certain, like Barbie? Did Barbie probably intentionally put some woke stuff in there, woke stuff, to get the free advertising from the right wing? Like they potentially played the right wing and made millions. So I don't know if Dave Chappelle is doing something similar. If he would do that kind of thing, I don't know. Or is that just where he creatively went? He's like he's a controversial guy naturally, and this trans thing. People keep talking about trans thing, and he sees stuff online, and he looks at it and he's like, this is ridiculous. This person, look at this man walking around saying he's a woman. This, and he finds humor in it, and it inspires content. Maybe it's his feed. Right? I don't know. Again, I don't know the guy. Maybe he started watching some right wing stuff, and then the algorithm starts feeding him more. So he's getting these things showing up in his social media feed, and it's influencing him. So maybe he organically went there, right? Because he's a comedian. I'm sure he finds humor in a lot of things, like myself. But that's his profession, so he will craft little like jokes and stuff from his experiences. He gets inspired, just like a musician would. Like I used to play music, and I would randomly hear melodies in my head, and then I would, oh my goodness, some cool thing, and I can't wait to get to my keyboard and try to figure these notes out and do something. So I'm sure, him, like all comedians, that happens with humor, where you see stuff, you experience stuff. So if his social media is influenced by some right-wing stuff, then it might slip into his content, organically. So not that he's being cheap or lazy, it's just the only problem with that explanation is that doesn't explain why the jokes are cheap. The first one, like I said, was good, but the other ones to me were cheap. That doesn't explain that part, because even if he's getting inspired by a right-wing influence on the algorithm, that's no excuse for why the jokes aren't better, right? It's like he's getting all these like trans things. Like, why didn't he get inspired to something that was a little more clever, to where like, okay, I think you shouldn't be making fun, like leave those people alone, but that was funny, like how I was on the first joke. So I don't know what the disconnect is. Either it's laziness, so it's lazy joke, so that's why it's not funny. He's just pandering, or he's inspired by his feed or some kind of influence, and for some reason, I don't know what the disconnect was. Again, I'm the only one who's the arbiter of what's humorous to me. So the reality is, those trans jokes might be excellent jokes to somebody else. And I'll leave on that. Andrew found, yeah, exactly. What'd you say? Someone, you see them and then you get you mean like the basketball people looting merchants everywhere? I don't know what you're talking about, man. I don't know what you're talking about, Willis. Ford fix or regular or repair daily. Oh man, found on road day. Yeah, I know that one. This message is held for review. Oh boy, oh boy. Did you make a trans joke? Let me see what it is. Fucked over rebuild. Psh, come on, man, relax. YouTube. Oh, somebody else already handled it. Okay. I don't know if they rejected it or not. Sorry, found on road. All right, guys. This is the Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. I messed up my own thing. 3 stars. Sorry, Dave Chappelle. 3 stars. What can I say? But nobody gives better reviews of stuff that I find funny for me than me. No one is better at rating what I find funny than me. I do the best job on the planet. There's nobody on planet Earth that's better at reviewing what I find funny than me. And the same goes for you. So tell me what your review is when you see the special. Until next time, thanks for watching. Thanks for the support, the thumbs up. And I'm about to go buy some groceries from my nice neighbor that bought me groceries when I was sick. My neighbor, I was sick. I was incapacitated with my Rona, and I didn't have any food. And I didn't want to wait on Uber because it just happened. I got up, it was late in the morning, I hadn't eaten anything. I needed to eat, I was sick. And she bought me a whole bunch of groceries. That's how we are, man. I love my street, man. We're a really good community. And this is a perfect example. But I offered money. I was like, I'll pay you. And she's like, don't send any money. Man, you ain't gonna bring me a whole bunch of groceries when I'm sick, right? You ain't gotta bring me nothing. You're just a neighbor, right? I'm the evil landlord and you're a tenant in somebody else's building and you bringing me groceries. You bringing somebody else's landlord groceries. Come on, man. And you're up there. It's not even like you're up there and you're married. It's not even like you're trying a little something. You just have a good heart. And you think I'm gonna let that slide? Hell no. I'm about to buy her some salmon, even though I'm broke right now. I'm broke as hell right now. No kidding. I am broke as hell because Airbnb's picking back up, but it's been a drop for the last 2 months. So she's sadly mistaken, thinking I'm just gonna be like, thank you for the groceries. That was great. Okay. All right, man. Happy New Year. Hell no. I'm about to buy some special something. We about to hook her up. Especially what she been through. I ain't gonna put her business out there, but she's been through some stuff. I've been through some stuff. We all been through some stuff. But she as a nice person, that's just how life is sometimes, man. Good people, sometimes it's bad, man. You have bad people that sometimes seem to be chilling while good people are just getting destroyed. So I'm gonna try to rebalance the universe and throw it back. Was it play it forward, play it backwards? I'm about to buy some groceries. All right, guys, and I'm out.